Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Resume this meeting that took place this morning. We have quorum. We're here to discuss EY 3.2 new final report 4125, 4133 Dundas Street West, zoning bylaw amendment, rental housing demolition and conversion, and the removal of the H holding symbol applications in my ward. Those who will be speaking tonight, you can come to the mic, please state your name, and we have 5 minutes to speak. Just before we start with that, from this morning, got some housekeeping in my ward. EY 3.25, the appeal to T-Lab, I have to reopen that issue, so I need a motion to reopen 3.25, moved by Councillor Ford, all in favor, opposed, carried. And I'm just adding recommendation number 1, that City Council authorize the City Solicitor to appeal to the Committee of Adjustments decisions regarding consent and minor variance application, they're the numbers respecting 65 4th Street. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so moving right along. Our first speaker, Segora Pozan. Segorta? What is that? No?
She's running a little late, Mr. Chair.
You must have been driving. Any other speakers to the item? Would you like to speak to the item? No?
Nobody wants to speak?
This is our last chance to speak to the item before we bring it into committee. Sorry?
My name is Lynn Burton Ferreira.
Okay, come forward.
Just 1 second, Francis. Yes?
My name is Lynn Burton Ferreira. I'm a retired citizen. I live in 48 government roads for 44 years.
So you'd like to speak? Please come forward if you'd like to speak. Yep, please come forward.
I just would like to make you a question before I speak. My question is this. I never viewed the plan first. My concern is I never was in favor of the building that they've done it on Irlington Avenue and Dundas. They made it too high. So to my house, got some sun, some light, privacy also. This one is going to be 8 floors. It's going to be much higher than the 5 floors that is on Irlington. Okay? So my concern is this. If Irlington is already congested with traffic, Prince Edward, they are doing a building over there. Most of the times it's a big problem to make a left turn or right turn on Prince Edward and Dundas. If you're going to block the Kingsway Crescent, so what's going to happen? Anytime that I need to go to the doctor or need to go out, what's going to happen? I'm going to be 10 minutes behind someone that cannot make a right turn or left turn. Now, knowing where I am on 48 Government Road, the sun comes on the morning from the east end. Okay? So with 8 floors, I have my neighbors, they put up big houses, additions, and they all block me the sunlight. I have a small vegetable garden. So what happens? I can hardly grow anything on my vegetable garden. So as a senior citizen, I waited for my 65 years old for me to do my planting, my gardening, everything that I enjoy. I'm limited on that. Now, I didn't see the plan yet. I know it's 8 floors. But if 5 floors blocks me, 8 floors is going to be a lot more. And because it's going to be situated on Old Dundas and the Kingsway Crescent, I think it's going to be an impact on it. That's all my questions.
Great. Sir, can I just ask you a question? Did you attend any of the consultation meetings that took place? There was a consultation meeting in the community. Did you attend that?
I don't have no competition.
No, did you go to the consultation? There was a public meeting in the community. Did you go to that?
No, all I know is this one.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. When it was the Irlington building, I opposed because my house is just, the backyard is just behind the building. I oppose. I spent numerous hours just leaving literature to gather, support from the neighborhood. But it came to a time that I was sitting here and I don't know, I don't remember who was the honor, but he shut us all out, and he said only one person can speak. I know that by experience. But as I see, nobody asked for a question, and I wanted to see someone maybe with more education than me speaking and ask for the plan, then I would wait for next
Okay.
meeting or something.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Is there any further speakers? Please come forward. Welcome. Good evening. Please state your name and your
Sure, it's
address.
Madeline Edwards.
Good
I live
afternoon.
at 142 Kingsway Crescent, so I share a property line with one of the rental buildings. I hadn't planned to speak, so I hadn't actually prepared.
That's okay.
But I guess, I think our concerns in the neighborhood were related to not the fact that there's going to be a development. I think actually it could be positive in the revitalization and appearance of that corner. I think the concerns were more around the amount of traffic that it could yield on Kingsway Crescent. Right now, it's a very busy street. People actually speed down that street. It's supposed to be 40, but cars do not go 40. They use it as a throughway from Bloor to Dundas. And now that there's so many speed bumps on Prince Edward, we get even more traffic that goes over, so that's a concern. I have 2 young kids. There's lots of kids on the street. And I believe the proposal was to add 120 underground spots. The other concern that I think we had for neighbors that are really close to the development was on our foundation and how we were going to be impacted directly by the building going so deep down to acquire those many spots. So I did attend the first meeting, which I believe was, it seems like a really long time ago, a couple years maybe, I'm not sure exactly. So it was a while ago.
Okay.
And we hadn't heard anything since. So this is the first that we've heard. I don't know what the status is. I don't know this process. It's my first time going through, so.
And what street are you on?
I'm on Kingsway Crescent.
Okay.
So the entrance would be directly behind my, my backyard.
And forgive me, there's no speed bumps on Kingsway Crescent?
Nothing now.
Mary Campbell is against the wall. If you make a little wave there. If you may talk to Mary, one of my staff members, she may talk. We can maybe study that street for you. So,
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you. Any further speakers to the item?
I move we take it into committee, Mr. Chair.
Any further speakers to the item? Okay, seeing some questions of staff? I asked twice. Questions of staff? I have questions of staff. Good evening. So, I've just taken over this file from the former councillor before. I see the planning supports the application.
Correct,
It's for 8 stories.
right.
And I understand there's other 8-story buildings in the vicinity?
There's about 6 other mid-rise buildings along this avenue,
Okay.
varying from 6 to 8 stories.
Okay, so we heard the sun impacts, this gentleman first spoke about. Could you talk about the sun impacts? What is it?
So the applicant submitted shadow studies as part of the application, and we reviewed the shadow studies, and there were no shadow impacts into the land's designated neighborhoods, particularly to the rear of the site. The lands are designated neighborhoods, and when you look at the shadow studies, there's no new shadow impact. The applicant has done an 8.4 meter rear yard setback at the ground floor, and then the building progressively steps back as the building rises, so there is up to a 26 to 29 meter step back to the rear.
So does that meet the 45, is the 45 angle
Right.
plane we're
Yes, it
searching
falls
here?
within a 45-degree angular plane.
Okay. And I noticed there's no section 37 in here. Why is that?
Correct. So the application, given the size of the site and the GFA proposed, does not meet the threshold in our policy for section 37. It's under the 10,000 square meters, so they don't fall under that category.
So any other benefits we're getting for streetscaping?
So we're getting benefits in terms of the applicant has increased the side yard setback of the application from varying from 3 meters to 0 meters at the side to 7.5 meters to address the concerns of the adjacent Earlington building, as well as a continuous window-to-window separation of around 11 meter separation between the sides. There's increased streetscaping on the street along the avenue, as well as parking restrictions that have been imposed in this application.
So in your professional opinion, this fits in within the other buildings in the area?
Correct.
Great. Those are my questions. There's a quick question for transportation. Just on the first gentleman spoke with the traffic, he's concerned with traffic, and with those traffic studies were submitted. Can you maybe just touch on the traffic?
Yeah, through the chair. So there was a traffic impact study that was submitted as part of this application. And the traffic impact study estimated that the proposal will generate approximately 40 two-way trips during the AM and PM peak hours. So let's say roughly one vehicle every 2 minutes.
In the peak period, so,
In the peak periods, correct, yes.
and what are the peak periods? What do we count as?
Well, they generally coincide, again, through the chair, they generally coincide with the journey to and from work, because that's generally considered the worst-case scenario in terms of roadway traffic. So it's a 1 hour period between 7 and 9 in the morning, and a 1 hour period between 4 to 6 in the afternoon.
2 hour period, 4 to 6, right?
It's a 1 hour period in between those time
Oh, I
periods.
got you, okay, got you. So, again, there'll be an impact, but it'll be minimal in your professional opinion?
In my professional opinion, yes.
Great, those are my questions. Yep. Luigi, sorry, you have another question by Councillor Holliday? Yes.
I thought I was gonna get away scot-free.
The report notes that it meets parking requirements. I wondered if you could elaborate on that. What does the bylaw require for parking, and does this meet it? Something about zone 4.
So, through the chair, under the new city harmonized bylaw, parking area or policy area 4 stipulates specific requirements, and policy area 4 is generally regarded as areas that are have direct access to some sort of surface transit of some kind.
So this meets the parking requirements of our policies.
Through the chair, it exceeds the parking requirements of that policy area slightly. So it requires, that policy area requires a total of 116 parking spaces, and they're providing 121 parking spaces. So it's slightly over that.
Thank you very much.
Question, Councillor Nunziata?
I guess that this would be the planning, planner, yeah, sorry. So I have a couple questions. So what about the garbage for pickup, and where would that be located as far as the site?
So there's a staging area for that. Engineering could also maybe comment on that if you wanted to elaborate. But
So will it be on the residential side, or?
so if we look at the site plan, so it's to the rear of the building within the site on the property.
And that would be private collection?
Yes.
Private?
Yes.
Okay, so there's the map on the screen there.
Okay, sorry.
So, so access to the site is off Kingsway Crescent. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is Kingsway Crescent, and then access driveway, a private driveway off Kingsway Crescent to the site, and there's a loading station area and garbage pickup area also here.
Okay, now as far as local parks, like, are there a number of local parks in the area?
There are. It was just identified by Parks, given the size of this site, that it would just be a cash dedication. There is the large Lambton Kingsway Park within close proximity to this site.
Oh, okay. And it will be affordable?
So there's,
Affordable rental?
so it's rental housing. They have a rental housing demolition and conversion application in where they are replacing the 12 rental units on the site.
Oh, okay. That's it for my questions.
Councillor Ford?
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Chair. One of the earlier deputants brought up some concerns around being a neighbor of the property, and as they, I guess, would excavate for the underground parking, the vibrations into the community. I've seen this. I guess my questions are a little more high level from just this project, but many of developments run into those issues. Are there any protections homeowners have under our bylaws, or what steps do we take or do we make the applicant take when doing that work?
So through the chair, so there's a construction management plan that's submitted with the application, and obviously the Engineering and Construction Services Department reviews the application in terms of safety and structural. The building code would regulate certain laws in terms of building and structural issues. So I guess if there were complaints, that they would contact the city and the buildings department to look into that.
And what steps would be
Hold on,
taken?
Sorry, maybe, if you take a stab at that from buildings?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Typically, when these kinds of construction projects are going to take place, we would work with the applicant in advance. We would encourage them to do pre-construction assessments in the neighboring properties to verify what the status is prior to. We would encourage them to do that. So that if there is vibration, if there is any concerns after the fact, they have a pre and a post so that they can have a look at that. From a building code perspective, we would be looking at shoring for the excavation, making sure that things are, it's always safety first, so shoring in order to maintain the integrity of the site, making sure that the adjacent properties are not going to be adversely affected.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no questions to staff, speakers? Speakers? Seeing none, I will speak. As I'm the new local councillor for this area, I've had a chance to meet with planning staff and talk about, we have a pot of planning for a while with moving the staff recommendations. I talked to plan, there was staff community consultation on this. There's other 8-story buildings in the area. I think we'd be in trouble if this went to T-Lab, so I know it's rental conversion. We're getting the 12 rental units, which is very important that they're being replaced. There's some other benefits. I know the neighbors are concerned about the growth happening there, but I can tell you Dundas is ID'd as one of the growth areas in our city. Further down west, it's just astronomical what's happening, but I didn't get a chance to take the consultation because it was not the ward councillor, but I'm satisfied staff are in favor of this and in their professional opinion, so I'm moving the staff recommendations. Any further speakers? Seeing none, just ask for a recorded vote. All in favor? Councillor Nunziata, Councillor Ford, Councillor Grimes, Deputy Mayor Holiday, and Councillor Prute, so that carries. Councillor Nunziata, you have a motion to interact and confirm the confirming bill?
That the Etobicoke York Community Council passed and declared as a bylaw confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceeding of the Etobicoke York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 3 on February 14, 2019.
Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Do we have to do that one? Motion to adjourn by Councillor Prutza. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
The 250 meters too.